But if Nico got this $8 million deal, and this is purely, I know this is not as timely because it happened a week ago, but we didn't get to talk about it a week ago. The implications of what Tennessee has done in that, again, let's assume it's real. Has Tennessee kind of set a precedent for college football? Did they, in putting up huge money for a huge player, what does that mean? For not just for college football in general, but for Tennessee going forward, because do you set a precedent for yourself in that any big player is going to go, hey man, you gave that guy $8 million or whatever really happened there. Who knows? That's between Nico and the good Lord, but and Tennessee, I guess. But did they? Are you? Does it concern you? Do you love it? I'm interested to know what you think.
I think Tennessee, if it's true, it signals that Tennessee is comfortable playing in that world because look, I think you know that it sets a precedent. If you're Tennessee, you know that you got some Danny White, you got some smart people there working at Tennessee that understand how markets work for players. I mean, in the NFL, you go see Devontae Adams sign this huge deal for a wide receiver, and then all of a sudden Tyreek Hill's getting traded to the Dolphins because he wants more money. Like it's instantly going to have an impact on recruiting. And I think Tennessee wanted that. I mean, they don't want to go out there and explicitly brag about paying Nico $8 million if it's accurate, but there's a reason that story's out there, and people were going to connect the dots. I mean, you had things, little clues put in there. As soon as I read the story, the attorney, like where he's based from, oh, it's the same town that Nico's from, or right beside it. You've got David Ubben contributing to the story, who's just wrote a huge story on Spire Sports and everything they're doing to help get players paid. I mean, he's the one that's done all that digging and all the background on that story. You connect all the dots, like of course it's Nico. Like who else can it be? And not also, there's been a lot of those collectives out there that have denied that it was them. Spire Sports is not one that has denied that it was them. So, but to the point, like that was put out there for a reason. I think Tennessee wants recruits to know, like, hey, we're in this, we're living in this world. We're here to stay. We've set the precedent. We're okay with it moving forward, and that's what we're going to do, because he's not going to be the last 5-star quarterback. And maybe next, 20 every class you're pretty much assigned a guy now, because what we've talked about, you don't know. Guys are going to leave early. They're going to be bust. They're going to transfer. You don't know how it's all going to play out, so you always have to be on to the next guy, and the price is just going to keep climbing from here.
Yeah, if it all transpired the way that it was kind of reported in that story, I love it because, as you said, it's Tennessee outwardly showing we're here. We're going to play with the big boys. We're not messing around. We're going to lay down some cash. Not afraid to do it. And if you want something similar, come and talk to us. They're kind of laying that down. That is also risky, and I assume that this has all been discussed and planned out, and future contingencies have been planned for. It sets that precedent out there. The kids will come in and expect big money from you. And what does that mean? What does that lead to? I assume they've planned for that. I hope that they have planned for that. I will obviously assume the best because I think they've handled it excellently so far. And I love that Heupel is showing like we are here. We are the real deal. Don't think that we're just gonna be, it's this cute offense with Josh Heupel. No, we're gonna bring in elite players and we're gonna play SEC football. Like I love that they're showing that and not being afraid to show that. But it's a risky venture. This is the Wild West, the new frontier. We don't know exactly how it's going to unfold. We don't know how players are going to react to all of this in the future. once everything kind of sets in and it becomes more normal and commonplace to have these conversations with players and to set these things out there, what are their expectations going to be? I like a company like On3, the recruiting service. They've started to try to put a price tag on NIL deals. They did this for Nico, and I read the story about it, and their price tag was like $350,000, something like that, relative to the amount of social media followers he has, the sort of clout, quote unquote, that he would have being the quarterback at the University of Tennessee, the clout that he gets by being a huge recruit, being what is he, the number 2 or number 3 quarter, I believe the number 3 quarterback in the class of 2023. They formulate all of that in there, and they came out with like $350,000. They did not come out with $8 million. But of course, $8 million is kind of, to put it simply, there's a lot of terms and things, but is essentially $2 million a year over 4 years. To put it simply, it's and so
that 350 seems incredibly low. Just like, do you think Nico will lead to one sellout of a game that wouldn't have normally been a sellout? Like one game that would have had 90,000 fans suddenly has 100,000 fans because of the addition of Nico and whatever he brings with him, like the whole fallout from it. Wide receivers, whoever, offensive lineman, whoever decides to commit to Tennessee with Nico there, like, does that lead to more sellouts down the road for Tennessee? Because you got 90,000 fans or 100,000 fans versus 90,000 fans. I don't know what the average price of a ticket is, but let's say $50. I mean, that's $500,000 that you've made right there. And then you multiply that over a couple of games a year, all the additional stuff that comes with that too. You could see how in the long run, maybe he is worth that to the program when you think of everything that comes with it. And not because he's not going to, like, Nico's not going to sell $8 million worth of cars via his Instagram, obviously. But on the other end of stuff, when it comes to Tennessee itself, you could generate that much revenue.
I think without a doubt he would if he becomes.
Well, yeah, it's contingent on him panning
Yeah,
out.
he has to pan out. But I try to think of a good, the most extreme end being what, Johnny Manziel. I mean, the most high profile, where he's going and hanging out with Drake and being, he was a true full blown superstar on a national level where people outside of college football fans knew who Johnny Manziel was. Like that, who knows what kind of, in terms of like a monetary value, who knows what that is? Millions and millions and millions of dollars. Make no mistake about it. But even in just the micro sense of what Nico could be, let's just say he becomes like the best quarterback in the SEC during his time at Tennessee. So he's a star in SEC football, and he's not even to that Johnny Manziel level where he's making freak plays and, viral videos and all this stuff. But he's just the best quarterback in the SEC. That alone, if you do that and the team becomes great and you're a top 10 team and you're selling tickets and you're selling merch, and you make that $8 million as the University of Tennessee, you make that $8 million back and more. Now, as the sponsors that might be in on that NIL deal, that's kind of a different conversation. But as the University of Tennessee, he's worth $8 million and a whole bunch more. $8 million multiplied, So I'm fully in support of it. I love it. I couldn't be happier about it. But also I do go, you guys have planned, you got a plan here, right? You've tried to hopefully plan for the future with how all of this goes, right? Because $8 million is a lot, and it's a ton to put on the line. And
There's a lot that has to play out still, where we
yeah,
will how binding is the contract? Because there's nothing that can legally bind you to the school through the NIL deal,
yeah,
because they
that's
can't have
true.
anything to do with each other. So what happens? And I'm sure all the money, obviously, you might have mentioned this, is it's not up front. It's paid over a certain amount of time. I'm sure that's going to be part of every NIL deal to help guard against some of what I'm about to say. But what happens when a player leaves after 1 year and transfers? Like what happens then? Is there any legal recourse that the NIL can take? The school certainly can't. Otherwise, they're kind of saying they're guilty of paying a player, which is still illegal technically. The school directly paying a player.
Technically.
Yeah, but I mean, if you get into the a legal battle, I mean, the school has nothing to stand on from that stance. That's something that's going to be sorted out. Like we're going to see that happen. I'm pretty confident we're going to see something like that happen at some point.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, right? At this, I don't know. I almost say we need to get somebody that is in this NIL world, like these folks from Spire, on the show. But I don't think that if we had them on, they would tell us the whole
No,
truth.
because they're not
They
doing
can't.
anything on behalf of Tennessee, right?
Exactly. They can't. It's not their fault. They wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to divulge that stuff. I don't know who we could talk to get into like the real reality of this situation, because right, effectively couldn't Tennessee and its donors go to like just somebody who's printing t-shirts for these kids? Just, they've been making a ton of t-shirts for the baseball team and for, Kennedy Chandler and Santiago Vescovi, and like all these guys they just have NIL t-shirts in all the different stores. Couldn't they just go to that team and be like, or to that t-shirt printer or however that is set up, and basically go like, let's make a t-shirt deal for this kid for $300,000.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I
just,
definitely think that's happening.
I mean, couldn't that be like
It's
that
like a
simple?
reverse money laundering scheme. Yeah.
It is. It's money laundering scheme, right? But what I want is like confirmation. I want to hear from somebody who's truly in the know. And like we said, talking to these like Spire sports guys would be great and informative, but they're not gonna say that. They shouldn't say that. I wouldn't want them to say that. Don't incriminate yourself. Uh, you know. And so I'll do a little digging. See, I don't know
I agree.
who that person would be, but I want to see if we could find
Like we
somebody.
like we know that the school has to be involved, but we just want confirmation of to what extent. Because I want to know, like, obviously they're involved with the recruit themselves and which recruits they're targeting, which can be misleading because you can't just go off of a 24/7 sports offer sheet because they offer players that aren't really offers all the time. I don't know why they do it the way they do it, but you'll see. I've counted before. Tennessee's offered like 600 kids in a year before. It's insane. They're only going to sign 25 to 30 kids. So you have to be communicating with the school on which players they are actually pursuing. And then you like, how much does Tennessee have to do with the price point? Is Tennessee setting that? Is Tennessee saying whatever you work that out with the kid, whatever it takes? I mean, that's what I'm interested in knowing is
Yeah,
how involved are they in the negotiation?
it is fascinating. And at the end of the day, I don't care how it gets done. I don't
No,
care.
it's just intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's as long as the kid is committed to the University of Tennessee. Congratulations all around. Let's pop a bottle of champagne. I'm happy that Nico's in the fold. I don't care how you get there, but I do want to know how you get there. Like I just purely out of curiosity at a minimum, just because it is such a fascinating time in college sports right now with this stuff. I mean, it's finally the facade is coming down of amateurism and all of that stuff. It's finally the NCAA is panicking right now, trying to gain the little bit of relevance that it could even have at this point. And so maybe I'll search around, see if anybody has this who's listening to the show has like a suggestion for a person that we could potentially bring on. I'll try. Just because it's off season, so we need some content like that. I would love to get more informed and somebody who will be totally 100% honest. Like,
Mm-hmm.
here's probably how schools are doing this. And, I think that it would be great to know. So I just want to have that conversation. Like, everybody was hemming and hawing over it. Oh, he might be the $8 million kid, and blah 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 blah. So just want to make sure that we covered it on this show because it is such a huge topic.